So to compare Pierre Poilievre to Donald Trump when literally Mark Carney is like 20 feet away from Donald Trump in the Queen's Palace here is just, it's getting ridiculous. The media is out of control. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, they are just coming out and saying the quiet part out loud. More updates on Brookfield and the Epstein files, a bunch of stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Poilievre survives leadership review with 87% support. That's right, survives. He gets record-breaking leadership numbers, 87.4%, and they're using this kind of language, survives. It's funny, Bradshaw pointing this out here. So this article here says the Liberal Party released its own annual fundraising numbers last week, saying they broke their own record at $29 million in 2025. They don't mention here that the Conservatives raised, I believe it was $47 million, like significantly more money. This is media framing here. It's dangerous. Moving ahead, the event here at Ranchman's that Pleb held with all the creators was absolutely packed to the max. Now here's a clip from Sunduran.
I'd like to welcome those of you.
There was actually a balcony up here, which was also packed to the max. This looked like a lot of fun. I wish I could be there. I know there's a lot of people in the chat. I was in the chat watching Pleb's live stream, people asking if I'm going to be there, why I'm not there. There's multiple reasons. I don't really want to get into all of it, but one of the biggest reasons is I'm absolutely terrified of flying. And well, I experienced an airplane that dropped 300 feet in a couple of seconds. There was a pocket of dead air, and when it got through the dead air, then it hit what felt like the ground, even though we were 40,000 feet in the air. And in that moment, about 3 seconds, and this happened 3 times, everyone in the plane was weightless, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, so I just floated to the top of the plane. And then when it hit the normal dense air, then bags came flying out of the open overhead bins, flying around like torpedoes. The drink cart was flipping upside down, drinks were flying everywhere, people were screaming, people hitting their heads and bleeding. And the worst thing you could ever imagine if you're terrified of flying, like I thought I was dead that day. It still rattles me. I avoid flying like the plague. Even to go visit my family in Alabama, I drove from Vancouver Island to Alabama, if that tells you anything. So that's one of about 5 reasons. But any of the events that are close to me, I will go to them. I did check last minute to get a flight, so I think I'm starting to try to wake up to the idea of trying to fly again. But alas, I live on Vancouver Island. It's very hard to get off this island. Like, it's really annoying. Anyone who lives here knows that. With that said, take a look at this good group of Canadians we have here. This is a culture we don't want to lose. Now, in comparison, we've got Kirk posting this one. Spain decided to give free residency and legal status to 500,000 illegal immigrants in the country. This just looks like a line of Pakistanis. An article on this came out a few days ago saying that they're trying to push back against the right-wing politicians and right-wing support by just bringing in a bunch of people from Pakistan and getting them to vote left to counteract the right. It's ridiculous. And as Kirk mentions here, spot any women. There is no women in this line. Like, what is this? This is not immigration. This is just erasing the culture. I mean, they keep doing this, there'll be no Spanish culture anymore. The same thing goes in Canada. We have to preserve our culture. One of the groups that will not be helping preserve our culture is the media, mainstream media. Listen to this. We got conservative Rachel Thomas here pointing out the mainstream media said the quiet part out loud about supporting Mark Carney.
Look, folks, regardless of whether you want to acknowledge or not, there is a love affair going on between the current media landscape in this country and the Liberal government of Canada, and we need to put a stop to that. Currently, this weekend, there was a summit of all media, and this is a direct quote from the stage. Prime Minister, we have your back just as we know you have ours. This is what is said by the mainstream media just yesterday. Further to that, the Minister of Heritage has said that the CBC is responsible for social cohesion. Folks, this is propaganda at its finest. It needs to stop. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. So I've been trying to find the original source. So far, I can't find it. Tricky one to track down, but it'll pop up here eventually. Sometimes these media outlets, too, they delay a couple days to put out their media, so I'm not sure if it's even online yet. But just wild that they openly telling Mark Carney, don't worry, we got your back, you got our back. It's just propaganda. Disturbing. Yeah, legacy media has no more credibility today. They should all get fired. Yep. Moving ahead with the 3 million files being released on Jeffrey Epstein. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out that's just wild, and some of it does relate to Canada here.
This is it. The Justice Department says it's completed its review of the Jeffrey Epstein files, most of it heavily redacted, 3 million pages and thousands of videos and images.
The victims of Mr. Epstein have gone through unspeakable pain. Hopefully is able to bring closure.
Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, insists anything identifying victims, child violence, pornography, or death was withheld. The faces of victims blurred. Other than Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice, her never-before-seen mugshot in a prison orange outfit. Maxwell's home address listed on Epstein's infamous island where abuse took place, and Maxwell's U.S. naturalization certificate. Earlier unsealings identified several high-profile figures like Bill Clinton.
So going through a lot of this myself, because I wanted to see if Carney was in there or anyone related. And while there are a lot of photos of Donald Trump, it's always in business kind of environments. He was definitely friends with Epstein. There's videos of him partying stuff, but the really bad stuff comes from Democrats like Bill Clinton. Like this stuff here, there's ones where you can clearly see that there's a underage person there. That's why the Democrats never release this stuff, because it's way more scathing to the Democrats than it is to Donald Trump and the Republicans.
Former Prince Andrew and celebrities, but that doesn't imply criminal conduct. Blanche bristled when asked if the president, who had a friendship with Epstein, was being protected.
We did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger.
So then the left here are melting down over this.
You're not going to gaslight me into believing that this administration has prioritized the survivors or have cared about the survivors.
More related to Canada here, I've been pouring through this stuff. I've come across some interesting documents. I showed you a little preview on the past video. That stuff's not ready yet. That's more related to Mark Carney. This here is related to Brookfield, and we can see here forwarding Apollo Epstein Kushner connection. This is coming from whistleblower Chris Delario. Well, I'm not going to read out this because there's a lot of swears in here. It says, so who has green-lighted the milk and degenerate Fat Leon Black APO and the degenerate Steve Schwartzman? It's hard to actually read this language the way this guy talks, but basically he's talking about Leon Black. So go back to the Moose chart here, moosechart.com. This is free for anyone to view. A lot of people asking questions where this is, how you can get there, www.moosechart.com. And looking down here, so a lot of this is talking about Leon Black and Apollo Global Management. You can see I have the connection right here of Epstein. So Leon Black, American billionaire financier, best known for co-founding this group here. Down here I have it, Finance Committee discovered documents stating the true amount Black paid Epstein total $170 million, $12 million higher than previously identified. So Leon Black had to resign from Apollo Global Management because of his connections with Epstein. Apparently he was paying him for financial advice. Apollo Global Management, is they're part of this Blackstone energy deal here, $150 million. And this same company is help funding KSI Lissam's LNG, the same project that Mark Carney is pushing up near Terrace, BC. Along with Apollo Global Management is Blackstone, and I have one of the other redacted pieces of information here. You can actually click on these and you can see page 1 of 26. I have the full PDF here, so if you want to go through this, you can click on it right on the chart and it'll update, and you can go through page by page. That way, if they ever delete this stuff, I have it backed up here. And Blackstone CEO and chairman is Stephen A. Schwartzman, directly connected to the Trump administration, as well as J.D. Vance, as well as these meetings he had with Mark Carney in the WF in Davos a couple years ago. So there's a lot of connections between Trump, Mark Carney, Blackstone, Leon Black, Jeffrey Epstein, and this linking out to other stuff like KSI Lissams. But the new stuff we're looking at here today, so we go back to this, there's lots of mentions here. You can see there, he keeps calling him Fat Leon. And you can see within here, they keep linking articles to different things they're talking about. San Francisco annuity fraud attorneys. It mentions Schwartzman right here and Blackstone here, and also Leon Black, Schwartzman, and Kushner. What we're really looking for here is this. So it talks about, of course, then there's the Hail Mary pass Kushner threw on his Toronto-based Brookfield deal for 666 Fifth Avenue. And then it's got the link here to Toronto-based Brookfield, which is no longer Toronto-based. They moved that, at least another aspect of Brookfield. It's complicated because they basically renamed Brookfield Asset Management to Brookfield Corporation, created a new Brookfield Asset Management, which does other assets, mostly I think financial assets, and then moved that to America. But you can see here, they're linking up 666 Fifth Avenue. I've talked about this numerous times on the channel here. So that's this one, 666 Fifth Avenue, QIA bailouts. So the QIA, Qatar Investment Authority, the same group that Mark Carney just met with, invested $15 billion into Brookfield. And then out of that money, they took $1.2 billion and then bailed out Jared Kushner's family properties, who Jared Kushner's son-in-law to Donald Trump. And among that, so the allegations we're getting from Chris Delario from those emails, that whistleblower, and I should note this guy here is a financial whistleblower who has submitted multiple complaints to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, alleging massive market manipulation, money laundering, and fraud. And so that's what we're looking at there. In that document, alleging that Jeffrey Epstein received $158 million US from Leon Black between 2012 and 2017 for tax and state planning. The whistleblower alleges he helped greenlight financial takeovers, and the connection was hidden in plain sight via tax advice. And so that tax advice going over to Leon Black here, who I just showed you on the other part of the chart. Here's how Leon and Brookfield are connected. So not only is there the $1.2 billion million that came from Qatar of that total $15 billion that they invested in Brookfield. But then there's also $300 million that is alleged here, a broker deal from Leon Black, Apollo Global Management, to Brookfield for 666 Fifth Avenue. So provided the critical $300 million USD mezzanine loan to Brookfield, and then he stepped down in 2021 following revelations of payments to Epstein, which I showed you on the other part of the chart there. So they lent that $300 million. Brookfield Property Partners, the buyer here, purchased 99-year lease of 666 Fifth Avenue, borrowing that money, and then the major stakeholder is the QIA, and that all goes to Jared Kushner, Kushner Properties, to bail out that property here, this specific property that was failing miserably, and they're going to go bankrupt on it. So there's a lot of ties here, and that's just out of a couple pages, and I have those pages here if you want to look at these. Once again, you can click on them. There's 27 pages of just this one document, and there's dozens of these documents. And there's another one here. This one's got 23 pages. A lot of this stuff is redacted. There are tidbits of information here, but it does show that there's connections here with these guys, with Jared Kushner, with Trump. I mean, we already knew there's those connections with Trump. We've seen videos of him partying and stuff. But as I said, from the stuff I've seen, most of the really disgusting stuff per se is coming from Bill Clinton and mostly Democrats. We'll look at a few other things that they've got written here. So I've got them on the Moose chart here. So, I mean, you can see these are articles. It doesn't bring up the thumbnails, but they've linked these in these articles. Toronto-based Brookfield faces scrutiny from Democrats over deal with Kushner Company, coming from the Star, 666 Fifth Avenue, Brookfield, Apollo Global Management, private equity, etc., etc. So they link these up. Pretty hard to follow these email strings from this whistleblower, but I mean, we've got dozens of filings, former Milken Ahem, right-hand man of Leon Black, Apollo, his family trust fund. Then there's this. Has anyone ever seen the P-word Jeffrey Epstein on the other side of a trade? The only SEC filing of Epstein's financial trust company is in, wait for it, Leon Black, Apollo Environmental Solutions Worldwide. Over here, it talks about, once again, it mentions a Leon Black, Steve Schwartzman right there, takeover of the insurance industry, individual state regulators, sure, but there seems to be a monumental disagreement between Trump, White House, and states today. More to it? Absolutely. Call Fat Lee on APO rating. Like, I don't even know what half this stuff is. There's this one here, money laundering, NASDAQ, OTCM shell. Once again, mentioning Leon Black, Jeffrey Epstein. The SEC has known for years that Epstein is running extortion, Ponzi, slush fund. My claims again, linking more articles. Really what we got here, we know that these guys are connected. Brookfield was happy to get involved in this and bail out Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And with that, I think it's time to reveal what I found here. So on the Moose chart, I've had this image here for a while, and I didn't know where this came from. Just this one image of Jared Kushner, Mark Carney. Well, I found it. I found the event. It's right here. We can see I took a whole bunch of screenshots. I've got the sources. This is from 2019. Queen Elizabeth hosting an event for Donald Trump when he became president of America. And we have Donald Trump right here. We've got Jared Kushner here and Mark Carney. So Jared Kushner and Mark Carney sat next to each other for the entire dinner. I'll show you in some clips here. You can see multiple screenshots here of them talking and chit-chatting. Donald Trump not that far away, and Donald Trump is watching them here in this screenshot. More shots of them here. Jared Kushner, Carney's behind the lamp, and then here's a wider shot. Trump was at the head table here next to Queen Elizabeth. It's just funny. The liberals try to compare Pierre Poilievre to Donald Trump, when in really, I mean, look at this. Donald Trump, he's a rich man among the elite. He's fighting for Americans. He's a patriotic American. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes down to it, he rolls with this upper crowd here. So to compare Pierre Poilievre to Donald Trump, when literally Mark Carney is like 20 feet away from Donald Trump in the Queen's Palace here, it's getting ridiculous. And so once again, I got some more screenshots. So there's Jared Kushner and Mark Carney right there. Donald Trump at the head of this table. You can see this big regal event. And I'm sure Donald Trump went around and said hi to everyone during this. So there's not footage of that, but there is some footage of the dinner itself, which I'll show you here in a second. I just show you more. So this is where that screenshot comes from. Mark Carney, Jared Kushner, they ate dinner next to each other, and Donald Trump is just right here past this guy. And then just these other couple screenshots. So you can see this video is Donald Trump's 2019 state visit with the royal family. They did the whole thing. They have all the guards and the band and the troops and the whatever else. You can see they go and visit all these different places inside Buckingham Palace. There's Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. You got, I guess it wasn't King Charles back then, but Prince Charles back then. Queen Elizabeth. You got to remember too, Mark Carney has the phone number of King Charles. He knows this guy. They're together on that board, Diana Fox Carney and King Charles on that corporate knights board. These guys are all wrapped in together, and Donald Trump not necessarily in on their scheme here, but I think going forward for campaigns or any sort of clapbacks coming from the conservatives, they should lean on this stuff. They should pull up these photos and say, who's really tied in with the global elite? It's not Pierre Poilievre, it is Mark Carney. Here's the banquet all sitting down here. So Mark Carney and Kushner are right there, and Donald Trump is right here.
To Buckingham Palace this evening, just 12 months after our first meeting at Windsor. Visits by American presidents always remind us of the close and long-standing friendship between the United Kingdom and the United States.
So she goes on to give her speech here. You know, the whole thing. Play their national anthem, all that.
Your Majesty, Melania and I are profoundly honored to be your guests for this historic state visit.
I still don't know if Donald Trump spoke with Mark Carney in this room, because then their first meeting at the White House wouldn't have been their first meeting, but I'm sure he probably went around and met everyone. So he probably has already met Mark Carney, and that's why his body language was so funny when he met him. I called it out and said, these guys have already met before. I'm pretty sure they met in this banquet hall. Now, what I'm more interested in is, what did Jared Kushner and Mark Carney talk about? Obviously, we'll never know. Here we've got a shot of Jared Kushner and Mark Carney just on the left of the screen here talking. So this at the very least confirms that these guys had talked, what they talked about there for an hour or two, who knows. And in regards to all this stuff coming up from Epstein and this 666 Fifth Avenue, Mark Carney wasn't around for this, but he came in afterwards, so he would have had oversight into all of this. Thus, as I brought this up a while ago, he may know something about this that gives him leverage over Donald Trump. That's why I was initially thinking maybe these guys are working together, because if he's got leverage on Trump, then we would see a deal right away, unless he's helping Mark Carney get a majority government first. So it's hard to know. I still don't know. I mean, it's a coin toss at this point, because it could be just Trump negotiating to get Alberta to join America. It could be Trump negotiating just to get a better deal for Kuzma, or it could be Trump secretly helping Mark Carney to get a majority because of all this stuff related to his son-in-law, the Kushner properties. I'm trying to find that original source, Diana Fox Carney interviewing King Charles. It's somewhere buried deep in one of these websites, but I mean, here's a photo. You can see these two are wrapped up in royalty. I mean, Carney's brother tends to, I believe, Kate and William's home or one of their houses on the royal grounds. I've got it down here. So Sean Carney is the chief operating officer at Kensington Palace for King Charles, but I believe it's for Kate and William who live there. I have the receipts here too. Yeah, the house of the TRH Prince and Princess of Wales full time. Yeah, so I mean, these guys are wrapped in with this royalty. So when Carney talks about fighting for the people or whatever, I think the conservatives should nail them on this stuff. We'll see going forward here how these negotiations pan out, because it'll tell us a lot whether Carney has leverage or not. The most unnerving thing about all of this is we know Donald Trump is a patriot. While we might not know exactly what he's going to do with tariffs or this or that, we know generally what he's going to do. He cares about America. He wants to make America great again. That's what he wants, is his legacy. He's a rich man. He's already got enough money. He wants legacy. But Mark Carney, he's not a patriot. He's not a patriot at all. That's what scares me. So when we have stuff like this, where Brookfield shielded Trump in this SEC investigation. This is a letter right from United States Senate Committee on Finance. Dear Mr. Flatiron, regarding Brookfield Asset Management, refusal to provide Senate Finance Committee information requested on 666 Fifth Avenue. The property we just talked about says here, U.S. policy in Middle East, particularly the committee's investigation to uncover full extent of Brookfield aware of co-owned government of Qatar, $1.2 billion. It's the Kushner property there. Brookfield has an IOU with Trump. They shielded Trump bailing out Jared Kushner. And once again, I said this before the election, is there an IOU to help Mark Carney get a majority government in America? I can't really see Donald Trump as being a guy who responds well with someone having, or a company having, leverage over him, but he would work with a company or someone if it's a good deal, if it's got more benefit for him or America. That's why this is all very unnerving, because Carney is not a patriot. So what is going on here? And the final piece that muddies up this puzzle here is the fact that Mark Carney was being investigated for his GFANZ company. As the government of America lists here in this document, climate cartel's members include, and it mentions right here, Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. So Mark Carney testified back in, I think, 2014. And I don't know if Donald Trump has leverage over Carney to reopen this investigation, because nothing came from it. There was no charges. But could Donald Trump open this back up against Carney? Do they have leverage on each other? This is a very muddy situation.